really don't know what happened. I mean, our guys are trained to basically hover over people when they're shooting.
A sad and shocking story from Arizona has ignited a debate about children and guns. A 9-year-old girl on vacation with her parents accidentally killed the instructor supervising her. The girl was shooting an Uzi submachine gun and was unable to keep it steady. The Straight Talk contributor Jasmine Brown joins me now in Ottawa. And Jasmine, you've been following a debate that's been happening online and other media outlets saying, you know what, maybe we should have restrictions on shooting ages in Canada. We need to put a cap on it, below 12 or below 15 or whatever.
Yes. One thing that I found very interesting in reading these stories are that the media party, of course, naturally, when it comes to anything related to firearm policy, has a knee-jerk reaction where immediately they turn to to creating more regulations around gun use, firearm use. Mm-hmm. And frankly, when you create these reaction-related policies, opposed to actually educating yourself about the current firearm policies in Canada, you end up having these negative repercussions because you end up punishing people who are already using firearms appropriately.
And quite frankly, we don't normally have the sort of thing that happened in Arizona where there's a range and you can go and rent an Uzi and have your kid shoot it. You generally have to have a license, you have to belong to a gun range, and you don't have an Uzi. We just don't have them.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of requirements around gun use in Canada, considerably more, I'd say, than the U.S. Mm-hmm. Gun ranges their regulations change by province. So federally, in order to use a gun, you have to be over the age of 12 years old.
Well, to get your license.
Yeah, for a minority license. So a minority license allows you to target practice. You can be in shooting competitions, you can hunt, but it's only for the use of non-restricted firearms.
Okay. But there's an argument to be made for kids to learn early so that they're not scared of guns and that they understand gun safety.
Yes, what's important about this is that context is everything. So a lot of training occurs before a child can actually even hold on to a gun. And anybody who's engaged in any sort of gun culture in Canada knows this. There's a lot of training that goes into gun use. Marksmanship requires the development of certain characteristics like focus and discipline. And shooting becomes ritual. We have to follow certain steps. Every time you pick up a gun in Canada, you're supposed to follow acts and prove. And if you've been through a gun course, like I have, and I'm not sure if you have,
Yeah, no, I've done that.
Yeah, then you know about this. This is a consistent ritual every time you pick up a gun. It reinforces gun safety from a young age and desensitizes children from firearms and creates a sense of respect for these firearms, opposed to them misusing them.
All right, I understand you got a clip of a young kid using it.
I'd like to show you a clip on YouTube of a child who's describing to other children gun safety, and it just goes to demonstrate how teaching children about guns at a young age is actually incredibly beneficial.
I'm going to tell you about gun safety because maybe your friends have guns at their house and your parents maybe will have guns, and I'm just going to tell you some things. My parents let me go to the shooting range and shoot. That's the only time I get to touch a gun, and I'm just going to tell you how to shoot it and how to hold it. And this is how you're supposed to hold it when you're at the shooting range. You put your finger right here until your dad tells you you're ready to fire, and you put your finger on the trigger when you have your aim and they tell you you're ready to fire.
All right, so that kid's showing trigger discipline with a Nerf gun.
Yes.
So he's learning something. Now, I started shooting at age 13. Safety was hammered in. And I don't know that I would let my 10-year-olds handle an Uzi, at least not without me being there holding it. But this is a freak accident. We can't be making new policy and new rules based off a freak accident that shouldn't have happened.
Yes, I agree. And what's important here is that you create these regulations when you're uneducated about them. And having been in a gun culture like you and I, you would know that based on age, it doesn't really mean that you should be eligible to be holding a gun necessarily, or that you're able to. When I went to a shooting range more recently, there was a 50-plus woman who was quite old, quite responsible, but she couldn't physically hold a gun. The gun range instructor turned to her and said, "I'm sorry, but you will not be shooting a gun today. You do not have the physical strength to handle it and its recoil, and so I'm going to take the gun away from you." And she respectfully walked away and understood that she could not be handling the gun. If a woman who is 50 plus cannot handle a gun in a gun range, then that doesn't mean that setting a regulation saying that under 18 you shouldn't be able to.
Or over 50.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather a kid learn from a young age how to do it properly and have a healthy respect than start at 20 when they're out drinking with their buddies.
Exactly. Frankly, it shows, it develops skills within children to make them more responsible. And I think that most people, most gun owners with children who also use guns, understand this because they have a direct experience of dealing with it.
All right, Jasmine, thanks so much. Some common sense.